Dr. Given, our first curiosity is how can the earthquakes affect Turkey, stop its economic activity?
Yeah, this is a very major disaster that was unprecedented. The previous major earthquake took place in 1999 in the Marmara region in northwestern Turkey, close to Istanbul. This one hit the southeastern parts, which has some industry, some manufacturing and agriculture. And the death toll will be in the many tens of thousands. Unfortunately, it is the biggest tragedy Turkey has faced. But economically, I think there will be two things. I don't envision a major disruption to supply lines. I don't think the manufacturing capacity will be very badly impacted, but the sheer humanitarian disaster itself and the destruction to major cities and towns will take many, many years to repair, and it's very difficult to put a number on that. In the short run, you're looking at housing and feeding tens of millions of people. And in the medium run, you have to rebuild cities. Now, that might spur economic growth at some level, but I think altogether evidence suggests that destructions such as these eventually lead to significant slowdown in growth rates. At the moment, obviously, we're all concerned with the human suffering.
Therefore, Dr. Given, if symbolically we look towards the horizon for Turkey, we could say that we see a relatively small impact upon Turkey's GDP, for example.
Hard to guess. I would imagine maybe 1 or 2 percentage points, the direct result of the earthquake and the relief efforts itself. But I think there is a symbolic meaning here in that Turkish economy over the past 10, 20 years has been quite reliant on the construction industry and its close connections with the pro-government firms, and of course the observance of building codes and standards and all sorts of collusion at all different levels of government and business. And we can look at this earthquake as the complete breakdown, as the complete destruction also of that particular economic growth model that's centered on construction activities, these non-tradable sectors. And in the medium to long run, if Turkey wants to regain its growth momentum, it will have to prioritize different sectors of the economy. So in that sense, this can be and should be a watershed event for the country.
I just want to give an example of Gaziantep.
Yeah.
A city of about 2 million near the epicenter, a manufacturing hub, particularly for good processing and textiles, according to the city's Chamber of Industry.
Yeah.
Is this example relevant when we look to the whole picture, to the entire image of Turkey? You just mentioned that the region is rather important as a corridor.
Yes. Yes, no, it is an important region. There is some industry, especially around Gaziantep. This is also the region that has absorbed a lot of migrant labor from Syria over the past 10 years. And the very large Syrian minorities at the moment live in those parts of Turkey. That said, yes, there will be an immediate damage to business and livelihoods in those cities, but rebuilding in the same way, because when you look at Gaziantep, there's textiles, yes, there is food processing and other maybe furniture, I believe, also, but these are all relatively low-tech manufacturing industries, and is that what Turkey needs as an emerging power, as a high middle income country to specialize in? And these cities, in a sense, are epitomes of Turkey being stuck in this middle income trap, not being able to move forward. So if the goal is going to be rebuild exactly the same based on a similar model of economic growth and development, these relatively low-tech or mid-tech industries, and lots of rents coming from finance and consumer activity and construction and services, then I don't think that is, in the medium run, it won't fare well for the Turkish economy. But yeah, a destruction of this scale, obviously, the first response would be to replenish the building and the residential building stock in particular. But yes, this is a corridor. There will be an economic impact, but I don't think that that's the main problem in the medium run.
When we look to the recovery, the future recovery of Turkey, Dr. Given,
yes,
and we are curious about the source of these recoveries. It is likely to be from the heart of the country, internal, or likely with an international support.
I think it is both. The Turkish economy has not done very well in the past few years, especially since 2018, when there was a currency shock, and then you had the pandemic years. And just to compare with Romania, I was looking at figures, and per capita income in Turkey about 10 years ago in nominal US dollar terms was much higher in Turkey in 2012, 2013. Now the situation has completely reversed. Turkey has stalled in terms of its economic growth, and in particular living standards. You can see a palpable decline in living standards in the country of ordinary citizens in the past few years, and a lot of youth are already departing the country. So when you look at Turkey's recovery, I think we should be looking at not simply the recovery from the earthquake itself, but whether Turkey can recover from its prolonged, protracted economic stagnation and crisis. And the sources of that, you need some domestic transformation for it. In the short run, in terms of rebuilding cities, in terms of providing relief to millions of people who need housing and food and basic needs, I think that while Turkey has sufficient resources for that, even that will be quite stretched, and there will be need for international cooperation. And I'm sure that Turkey's friends internationally will come to its aid in that sense. The problem there is one of coordination, and I'm sad to say that the Turkish government so far has not been very successful in coordinating relief efforts, and we'll see what happens after this.
On the other hand, because you mentioned, Dr. Given, Romania, I was looking last year, and the main importer, for example, of tomatoes from Turkey was Romania. Therefore, we are curious also on this side, the volume of Turkish exports. A possibility to be affected?
Maybe in some goods. In agriculture, I'm thinking Malatya is very much known for its export of apricots, and again, Gaziantep and Diyarbakir, there are some pulses there. But I can't imagine a very, very major disruption in that sense. It is a possibility. I'm not entirely certain. I don't think anybody's looking at that at the moment. It's too soon to assess the situation that way. It is a possibility, but if I were to bet, it would be a very minor disruption that way. And tomatoes are mainly produced in other parts of Turkey as well.
Right. As a conclusion, Dr. Given, did you also observe after Izmit 1999. The amount of time that took for Turkey to recover on all of the levels, on all of
Yeah.
its faces, its sides.
Yeah. That was a very major earthquake as well, and it took that particular region to recover several years, and it had a very significant economic and political fallout. This one is much larger in magnitude, and under normal circumstances, you would expect this catastrophe to have a much, much, much bigger impact on both Turkish economy and in Turkish politics. This is a major tectonic shift, if you will, should be at least for Turkish politics as well. But I'm not entirely certain what the fallout might be. These are very early days, and all we can focus on at the moment is very short-term disaster relief and coordination. But I would imagine the short-term economic impact won't be massive. In the medium run, though, the bill for recovery will be quite sizable, and there has to be some political consequence of this too. There are elections coming up in theory in May. We're not certain whether they will go through. And yeah.
Complicated. Thank you so much for
very complicated.
Absolutely.
You're most welcome.
Thank you once again for the dialogue with you in Romania, Dr. Given.
Great. Thank you for having me.